Hello, guys. How is everybody doing? Hey, guys. How is everybody doing? It is cold in Georgia. I don't know where you guys are watching from, but it's definitely cold in Georgia. I'm going to jump right into it. So we're getting some weird information with regards to this entire Jeffrey Epstein situation. It's like we're dealing with an administration that we really can't trust. Hi, also, I'm sorry to everybody in the chat. We don't even know what to trust anymore because with this administration, they lie so much, and then the information that they're giving us kind of contradicts what they told us before. One thing about when you lie, you got to remember the lies, and that tends to be the problem. When people start lying, they don't remember what they said originally. Now, let's kind of talk about it. Now, there's information that's now being leaked that is showing Jeffrey Epstein in his cell trying to harm himself, which is odd because the Department of Justice has always stated that he committed, took his own life. But if they had cameras in his cell, then they should have more information, which is odd because now what they want to tell us is that Jeffrey Epstein tried to unalive himself and that there's video of this, which is, again, odd because if Jeffrey Epstein had a camera in his cell, then we should know everything that happened to him. Is that not correct? Make it make sense. So this is what's being reported, that that they somehow uploaded this link, which is basically making people wonder because people are like, wait a minute, if Jeffrey Epstein had a camera in his cell, then why do we not know what happened to him? Which is not making a whole lot of sense. So this story is just unraveling and just growing all kind of crazy legs. So this is what they... Now, this is allegedly Jeffrey Epstein. This is, as you guys can see, this is allegedly him. I'm going to say allegedly because we don't know what these people are showing us. But again, if Jeffrey Epstein had a camera in his cell, then why don't we know the full details of what happened to him, okay? This is a camera. Very interesting. The most interesting part about this is if Jeffrey Epstein had a camera in his cell, like he was under surveillance, why do people not know what happened? That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Now, this is what they're saying. There's more evidence. The DOJ deleted the video because they realized it was BS. TMZ reviewed former Attorney General Barr's final report on the Epstein's unaliving, and it includes a detailed review of all available recorded video footage. There's no mention of any camera recording inside of Jeffrey Epstein's cell. Again, if Jeffrey Epstein had a camera in his cell, guys, why are we just now hearing about this? It's kind of weird. That doesn't make, I mean, why are they just saying this now? So something is weird. We were told that there were only cameras in common areas. Because, I mean, if you really think about it, Jeffrey Epstein had a camera in his cell. Is that normal? Like, I've never heard of that. If y'all recall, the infamous Jeffrey Epstein's cell door was not within the view of those cameras. If y'all recall, when Jeffrey Epstein was found unalive, what we were told was the cameras was not in the view of his cell. So now they're telling us that he had a camera in his cell. This don't make sense, does it? Something is wrong here. Now, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I'm starting to wonder what is going on here. Now, suddenly, what is that? Oh my gosh. Hold on, y'all. I don't know what's. Did y'all hear that beeping? I'm not sure what that was. But anywho, y'all, this don't make no sense. If Jeffrey Epstein had a camera in his room, in his cell, why don't people know what happened to him? But now they're reporting that he had a. This doesn't make any sense. There's something going on here that we just have not figured out. And it's really hard to figure out because we're just getting bits and pieces of information. And a lot of it is just seeming that it's something else here that we don't actually have all the evidence or the proof. Now, this is something that old DOJ provided. Again, everybody is kind of wondering what the hell is going on. More redactions. And this is, what they're saying. It says, "Dear investigation, came across a purported video of Epstein unaliving leaked by, so this was leaked by an anonymous source. So who knows? Maybe it's somebody within the DOJ that's trying to let us know what's going on. It says, I attached it. But if your email strips attachments, you can also download it from Google Drive." And they provided the link. And it says, "Is this real? Where is another version?" Or it says, I'm sorry, "Or is there another version with better quality, less choppy, as my re-encoding software seemed to have made it choppy? I have been documenting a substantial cover-up of a unaliving scandal at FDC Miami by both the BOP and also high-level DOJ officials. So I find it to be a joke that the DOJ is bringing charges in this SDNY case concerning the Epstein unaliving, while simultaneously acting to illegal cover-up of a misconduct in other similar cases. This is weird. I have a network of sources, and based upon the information they have provided me, I was able to trace some of the incidents at FDC Miami as follows." So this is a description of I guess other unalivings, but this is odd too because the date of this guy says March 2021. This is really, really weird. I don't even know what to make of this. Because a 2021 date, we are in 2025. So it looks like this is possibly a video that had been circulating for some time and it was not clarified. And then someone else says that this video is fake. It's crazy. Okay, listen to this, guys. They're saying that the video is fake now, but it was indeed released by the DOJ. It seems it's a collection of files collected by investigators, and this fake video originated. It talks about where it was originated. Supposedly, they collected lots of files as part of their investigation. Now, this is odd because why would the DOJ be putting out fake? Oh, shoot. Oh, this is crazy. Oh, this is even more crazier, y'all. So it looks like, what the hell? So why would the DOJ, oh my goodness, this is crazy. So why would the DOJ be putting out fake images? This is really odd. I'm not surprised. They're trying to confuse us. Okay, it's clear because all of this information that they're providing doesn't really make a lot of sense. So the DOJ put this image out knowing that it was fake. But on another spin here, they're talking about, y'all, that at least 16 files, and it's probably more now. At least 16 files has disappeared from the DOJ webpage. Now, these documents obviously link Donald Trump to Jeffrey Epstein. They're saying at least 16 files disappeared from the Department of Justice public webpage, including a photograph showing President Donald Trump less than a day after they posted it. They provided no explanation from the government and no notice to the public. Now, what they were supposed to do when they released the files is they are supposed to provide a narrative as to what files they took out and why. They say that the missing files, which were available on Friday, were no longer accessible by Saturday. And it included images and paintings depicting nude women and one showing a series of photographs along a credenza and in a credenza with drawers. Now it says in that image and inside a drawer, among other photos, was a photo of none other than Donald Trump alongside Jeffrey Epstein, Melania Trump, and Ghislaine Maxwell, which you guys know is Jeffrey Epstein's girlfriend. The Justice Department did not answer any questions about why these files had disappeared, but they did say on a Twitter post that the photos and other materials were being reviewed and redacted consistent with the law in an abundance of caution as they received the information. But let's just be honest. They are redacting and removing things that have Donald Trump name in it. I mean, we done all figured that out. So anything that has Donald Trump's name has, they've been removing it and provided no explanation. They have highly redacted files. And when I say highly redacted files, I'm talking about entire pages. I'm not talking about names. They are redacting, they're supposed to be redacting victims' names, but in fact, they are redacting the entire file. I mean, we're not dumb. We were not born yesterday. What exactly are they hiding here? Now, if Donald Trump is not in these files, well, we know he in there. I mean, we saw pictures. But if there's not something in there that implicates Donald Trump in, different than what we already know, then why are these people hiding the information? Something does not appear to be right here. Donald Trump, if they're not protecting Donald Trump, who are they protecting? Now, the episode deepened concerns that had already emerged from the Justice Department's much anticipated document release. If y'all already followed this, you know that they were late with producing this information. There were tens of thousands of pages made public, but they offer little to no insight into Epstein's crimes or anything that he was doing. Like, we have no more new information. They want to know everything. When they released these files, people were supposed to get a look into his life and just kind of find out, how was he able to avoid serious federal charges for years? Who was he working with? Okay. Who was Epstein working with? Something not adding up with this entire Epstein situation. What is being reported is some of the most consequential records that were expected about Epstein are nowhere to be found in the Justice Department initial disclosures, which spans tens of thousands of pages. Suddenly are gone. They're not even there. Missing. Now get this. In order for Jeffrey Epstein to be convicted, what did they have to do? They would have had to conduct many interviews. Guess what? That information is gone. Missing are FBI interviews with survivors and internal Justice Department memos examining charging decisions. None of that information is there. Y'all following me? Nothing. Where are the witnesses? They have taken all of the information. This is Donald Trump that was supposed to tell y'all everything, release the Jeffrey Epstein files, but this corrupt administration has stolen the information so that y'all don't get to see it. It's gone. Nothing is there. There's no interviews. There's no Justice Department memos examining the charging decisions. There is nothing there. Whew. Now, these records would have helped explain how the investigators viewed the case and why Epstein was allowed in 2008 to plead guilty to a relatively minor state level prostitution charge. Okay. None of this makes sense. None of this makes sense because there's nothing there. In fact, you know less about Jeffrey Epstein and his dealings now than you knew before the records were released. So this just not adding up, y'all. It's not adding up. People want to know the whole story. So why is Donald Trump protecting PDF files? Y'all know what I mean when I say PDF files, okay? So why is Donald Trump protecting these people? Or is he protecting himself? Now, we know that Donald Trump is a piece of shit person. And one thing that we do know about Donald Trump is that he gonna protect himself, okay? Something ain't adding up. The records were required to be released under a recent law that was passed by Congress, okay? Hello? No accountability here. Something does not add up. Where is the accountability? There's another part of this. We are in what, 2025? Back in the early 2000s, people want to know, why did the Justice Department abandon the investigation into Jeffrey Epstein? When I say the early 2000s, I mean 2000, okay? Why did the Justice Department refuse to investigate Jeffrey Epstein? Where is that information? But what they did, they enabled him to plead guilty to a state level charge. But we know he was sex trafficking, right? But in the 2000s, they abandoned the federal investigation portion and allow him to take a state charge of selling that cootie cat. But we know he was doing something else, okay? So he got charged with a Diddy level offense, okay? Well, get this. Let's go back to 1996. Let's go back to 1996 because Jeffrey Epstein had been doing this for decades. A woman made a complaint in 1996 against Jeffrey Epstein. Where is this information? We're still in 2025. I mean, Jeffrey Epstein had a complaint in 1996, years before the police investigation began into him sex trafficking. Okay? We're looking for that information. It's gone. Okay? It's not there. Who is Donald Trump covering up, y'all? This ain't adding up. It ain't adding up. Okay? It's not adding up. So let's get into what happened in 1996. Now, among the documents that we were hoping to see, okay, there was a report of a complaint made to the FBI by a woman in 1996 who believed that photos and negatives, you guys know what a negative is, that this lady had taken of her 12-year-old and her 16-year-old sisters for a personal art project had been stolen by Jeffrey Epstein. Well, the lady was more than likely telling the truth. Now, what this lady reported in 1996 is that her 12-year-old and her 16-year-old sisters were doing an art project and she had photos of them. And she said Jeffrey Epstein stole it. She made a complaint. Where is it? The one-page report was taken years before an investigation was launched into allegations that Epstein had SA'd and abused underage girls, okay? Now, the lady who made the report is, obviously, we don't need to know her name, but the handwritten report says she believed Epstein sold the photos. The woman said that Epstein had previously asked her to take photos of young girls at a swimming pool. But none of this information is in the files. What's going on here? What is really going on? All of this information is just gone. This is crazy. Now get into this. The complaint also said that the woman reported being threatened by Epstein, that she could not talk about the photos or he was going to burn her house down. A whole criminal. An FBI spokesperson said the agency did not have a comment Friday evening when asked about this complaint. Hello, where is that complaint, Donald Trump and your rogue ass administration? Where is the complaint? It is gone. It's gone. It's not there. Where is this information? Donald Trump is a whole felon in the White House with 34 felonies. Did y'all think that he wouldn't continue to commit crimes? Donald Trump should be in prison now. He's a rogue thug president who don't even need to be nowhere but in prison. He's steadily committing crimes and more than likely forcing his administration. We don't know if these folks are scared of this man. This man is a rogue and he needs to be in prison. He needs to pretty much die in there, okay? He needs to be in prison. This complaint, y'all, is gone. It's nowhere to be found. This is a straight cover up. This is a mess. This is a mess. All of this information is gone. Nowhere to be found. Where did it go? Where did it go? Even the attorneys for the victims who have looked at the stuff that was released, a lot of the information is gone. It's not there. You have to understand, when there is a victim involved, a lot of times they'll have their own attorney, and their attorneys have spoke out and said, this is nothing. So what they did was they shift through the information and they took out the most crucial information that everybody wanted to be able to see. It's gone. This is a mess. Get into this. They said not only was information removed from the Justice Department, if you guys understand, the Justice Department is like a federal agency. A lot of times before it becomes federal, it may start with the state, which we learned that Jeffrey Epstein had complaints. Generally, people don't, call up the feds and make a complaint, but they will report you to the local police. Now, if it becomes a situation like Jeffrey Epstein, where, he's doing this stuff all over, now it becomes a Fed case. We'll get into this. There were 4 separate investigations as it relates to the states. Okay, they had Florida, they had New York, because there was a decades long, I don't know if I want to say investigation, but people had reported this man. Where is that information? Gone. And then let's get into this Bill Clinton situation, because Donald Trump and his corrupt administration wants to keep showing us pictures of Bill Clinton. We don't care about Bill Clinton. This investigation is not about Bill Clinton at all. But if Bill Clinton did something, it is what it is. But what Donald Trump is trying to do is distract y'all. He wants to keep showing you pictures of Bill Clinton, but yet taking his own self out of there. Taking his own self out of there. But Donald Trump said himself that him and Jeffrey Epstein like what? They like the same type of little girls. He said that out of his own mouth. Yeah, we understand what you said, Donald Trump. We understand now. We totally understand. Now, here's something else that, because I'm sure y'all have friends, and you may have found out that, this friend is just not good for me, or maybe you just don't like them. They don't work out with your personality. But we gotta, be fair. I don't believe everybody that hung out with Jeffrey Epstein knew what he did, but some did, and some cut him off, and some didn't cut him off. So there's 2 types of people here. The first group knew nothing and cut Epstein off before his crimes could come to light. Okay, they cut his ass off. Okay, They didn't know, but when they found out, they said, I'm getting the hell away from you. Now there's a second group. They continued the relationship after. Okay? There's two groups of people here. And it seems like Donald Trump is in that group that knew, and he continued to hang around, because why not release the files? What are you trying to cover up? All of these redactions, removing Donald Trump out of the files, when we can go on the internet and see pictures of Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. So why is Donald Trump working so hard to get his name out of the files? I guess I don't understand. I mean, we know that you had a relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, but I feel like that there's something else that Donald Trump don't want us to know. So therefore he's going through this, this extra step to take his self out of there. But it's actually making him look even guiltier, because we already knew that he was associated with Jeffrey Epstein. But now they have taken Donald Trump out, redacted the documents. And the reason why we know that they redacted the documents, guys, is because there's two sets of files, although it's the same file. One file is being released by Jeffrey Epstein estate. Those have no redaction. So what's happening with those files is they're coming over to Congress, and they have the sole responsibility of redacting the victim's name. I mean, Jeffrey Epstein, the state, is not going to go through the documents. It's not their job. So what they've learned is the documents coming from Jeffrey Epstein estate with the no redactions, and then they compare it to the redactions that they get now from the DOJ. And guess whose name is taken out? Good old Donald Trump. So this is how we know this to be true, because they compared it, and Donald Trump's name was redacted. And get this, they claim that they redacted the victims. They didn't redact all of the victims, y'all. So they spent more time trying to redact a 34-time felon, okay, who obviously hung out with SCX traffickers, but left the people who were abused in there. What kind of rogue ass administration is this? This is very sad. It's disgusting. Very disgusting. We really can't believe anything this damn Justice Department says, because all they do is lie. Now, here's something else that they showed us that was kind of getting on my nerves, and I hope my computer don't start beeping again. And I kind of spoke about this. They continue to show us pictures of, let me see if I can find it. Let me see here. They continue to show us pictures of Bill Clinton. And it's just like, please stop distracting us with these pictures. I mean, we don't care. Like, if you are not going to provide us with the entire file where people can kind of read it and kind of see what's going on, stop spamming us with these pictures of Bill Clinton. Okay? But none of you. So everything is Bill Clinton, Bill Clinton. And of course, we get the narrative, because this is not about what's right or wrong. This is about if you are a Democrat or a Republican. Let's just be honest. This has nothing to do with those victims, because Donald Trump don't give a damn about victims. He doesn't care about victims. He only cares about himself. Okay? He cares about himself. So we're being spammed with pictures, Bill Clinton, but seemingly Donald Trump has disappeared out of the files. Now, let's get into the lies that the DOJ said, and y'all can take this with a grain of salt, because we don't know what to believe. All they do is lie. The Justice Department in detail So wait, let me go back. The Justice Department described their redaction process. So they discussed in detail how they are making decisions on what files to withhold and what files to release. The review protocol was outlined in a 6-page letter sent to Capitol Hill and was obtained by the Associated Press. It redacts. So this is what these idiots said. It says it redacted, maybe they redacted material that included personally identifiable information about victims, which is a lie because they did leave victims' names in there. Carry on. That depicted child essay abuse materials that could jeopardize ongoing investigations or show images of death, physical abuse, or injury. Well, that's interesting because they mentioned this ongoing investigation. Well, is Bill Clinton under some kind of investigation? Because by you guys showing him, wouldn't that jeopardize your ongoing investigation? This doesn't even make any sense. But carry on. Material was also withheld if it included classified national security information, maybe such as Donald Trump, you think? And a limited amount of information was withheld if it involved certain privileges, such as attorney-client privilege. How could an attorney-client privilege be in a case that's damn closed? What? They making up shit. In contrast, DOJ's attorney said all unclassified information involving Jeffrey Epstein, including details of criminal investigations and of his detention and Ghislaine, could be released. Huh? Well, if they said that information related to his criminal investigation, where are the notes? Where's the charging document? All of that information was not in the file. A lot of information was not in the file. Other information that could not be released, according to DOJ, was flight logs or travel records for aircraft or vehicles used by Epstein. Why would we not get the flight logs? Because we know Donald Trump was in there 100,000 times. Why come we can't get the flight logs? Yeah, this is not making sense. That's because Donald Trump's name was in there so many times. They just said, we're not going to release this. Why? Internal DOJ communications on investigations into Epstein and his associates, details of immunity deals. Why? This is crazy. Yeah, this doesn't make sense. They said more than 200 DOJ lawyers worked on Epstein file release. The team that reviewed and prepared the documents for public release included more than 200 Justice Department lawyers, according to a DOJ letter sent to Congress. In that letter, obtained by the Associated Press, said 187 lawyers from DOJ's National Security Division reviewed all the files to determine what should be released. Okay. Then 25 attorneys deemed a quality control team working to ensure that information, which is personally identifiable information related to victims, were redacted. Well, we know that didn't happen because victims' names were on there and throughout the files. Those lawyers came from the DOJ Office of Privacy and Civil Liberties and the Office of Information Policies. Lawyers from the Southern District of New York also reviewed the material to confirm that personal information was appropriately redacted. They keep talking about personal information that for some reason you had all of these attorneys, but they definitely missed some of the victims, and yeah, their information was definitely in the files. Now, we know the House Oversight Committee has issued a subpoena for the Epstein Files that could give Congress another avenue to force the release of more information to the committee, but it will require Democrats to convince Republicans to join them in a contempt of Congress proceedings. So basically, we're at this again. They did not release the files, and now the House Oversight Committee has issued a subpoena. This is going nowhere. We have a rogue ass president. So now, obviously, they need the Republicans, because everybody needs to work together to join them in a contempt of Congress proceeding. It will be highly unusual for GOP lawmakers to take such a move against a Republican administration. So who knows, guys, where this is going to go? This is such a letdown to these victims. It's such a letdown that we have a president that is protecting PDF files, okay? It's really disgusting. A man that stood up and said that he was going to release the files. He wanted to, everybody to kind of know what was going on with Jeffrey Epstein. And now, because he is in those files, he decided not to release them. Y'all got to let me know what y'all thinking in the chat. You got to let me know what you're thinking in the chat. What are y'all saying? This is crazy. Linda, I see your comment. I don't think I kind of understand. So this is a letdown, for the victims, because the victims, the victims is, they're actually being victimized again. They're not being respected. This is terrible. Absolutely terrible. What's next? People, they're also predicting, Pam Bondi. Should she be charged? This is a whole corrupt administration. Oh, I want to show y'all this too. Let's get into this one too, y'all, because we have some more little information here. Let me share with y'all. Just give me a second.
A big new batch of documents in Jeffrey Epstein investigation, and these include new details about Epstein's one-time friendship with President Trump. Look, there is a lot to go through. We said it's like more than 10,000 pages, so we are digging through this, but this is what is seen so far. In a 2020 email, an assistant U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York wrote that Trump traveled on Epstein's private jet, quote, more times than previously has been reported, at least 8 times between 1993 and 96. Now, on a flight in 1993, according to the email, there was just 3 passengers, Trump, Epstein, and what's described as a 20-year-old woman. Being mentioned in a trove of investigators.
Okay. How interesting. So if y'all recall, what I just read was the DOJ said that they will not be releasing flight logs. And what did I tell y'all? Well, why are they not releasing flight logs? Is it possibly because Donald Trump had been traveling an extreme amount of time with Jeffrey Epstein? And what did they just say? Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump had been traveling together. So there's more to this story, y'all. I'm going to dig into it. I'll catch y'all later.